Hello, hello, hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase again, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. I'm looking kind of big on this screen. I don't know why that view of me is showing like that, but whatever. Y'all know it's me. So, anyway, welcome. I appreciate those of you who are here, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching later. And have I got a episode for you on this evening. So, all relationships experience conflict, whether it's a romantic relationship, it could be a friendship, it could be family, it could be coworker. But in all the relationships that we have in our lives, there will be some conflict, especially in romantic relationships. Conflict is absolutely inevitable. And if there are couples who say they never have a conflict, I'm just going to tell you from my mouth to God's ear, they lying. Because it is impossible to have a close relationship such as the one in marriage or a close romantic relationship and there not be conflict. So conflict is inevitable, but the disconnection that happens with conflict doesn't always have to occur. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I have two fantabulous experts on with me tonight. We are so blessed because we got a newbie on tonight, y'all. So listen, y'all treat her right. I'm going to bring her on first. She is appearing with us for the very first time. And those of you who are watching now, please give a MBTB welcome to Miss Paula. Hey, Miss Paula, come on to the stage.
Hello, Valerie.
I want to
Thank you.
thank you for being here with us on this evening. So, since you're here for the first time, can you just share something about yourself with the viewers?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Valerie. This is such a pleasure. It's a delight. So, my name is Paula. I'm a therapist at Jetter and Associates Counseling. So, this is actually a second career for me. I'm originally a registered nurse, but I like to call this more of a synergistic move, right? Because
Ooh.
it's not in isolation. I like to integrate a lot of the principles and the things that I've learned
Hmm.
throughout my medical career. So I like to think that I bring a holistic approach, right, to the field. And also, I am especially attuned typically to working with individuals, of course, of all backgrounds, but those particularly that have experienced trauma or are currently experiencing trauma. So, especially
Mhm.
those individuals that, suffer from complex trauma, sexual trauma, all kinds of trauma, PTSD, things like that.
Mm.
Also work with a lot of grief, and I find that that holds a special place in my heart, and particularly because grief is all around us, right? Grief is
Yeah.
not just about who you've lost, but what you've lost. And if you live long
Mm.
enough, you would see that you lose a lot. Um,
Yeah.
Lastly, I have a special place in my heart for those that are in marriages and individuals, but those also that suffer from immigration or medical trauma. I'm originally
Mm.
from Ivory Coast, it's West Africa, and fluent in French. So I have a wide array of interests, but I have a special place for those individuals.
Wow. And
Yeah.
you know something? We have more in common than just being therapists because I'm a retired RN as well.
See?
I transitioned from nursing to counseling. In fact, my last
Wow.
year in nursing in 2020 was the year. Did I graduate in 2020? Yes, it was the year I graduated from Cairn University with my master's in counseling because I knew that I wanted to pursue counseling once I left my nursing career. And I love what you said, a synergistic move. I
Yeah.
love that. I had not thought of that before, but it actually makes sense.
Yeah. You're bringing forth everything that you've learned and all the
Yeah.
experiences you've garnered. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much for that. And now I'm going to bring on someone who is familiar to you all who have been with us before, none other than Miss Kim Jetter. Let me rephrase that. Future Dr. Kim Jetter, because she is actively pursuing her doctorate degree. You've completed your first year, right, Kim?
I just completed my first year and I'm in
Your
my second year right now. Hmm.
Yes. So Kim's been with us before. As some of you know, she was a one of my professors at Cairn University, and I think I only had one class with you, Kim, but I just fell in love with you when I had you as my professor in that class, and that's why I pursued you when I started doing this because I knew that you were someone who had a lot to offer. Because I benefited from sitting under your tutelage while I was at Cairn University. So, anywho, I'm going to stop running my mouth so that you can tell the viewers something about yourself.
Yeah, and I definitely enjoyed getting to know you in class and having that experience. So I'm glad God saw fit for our paths to cross. So for me, this is also a second career. My first career was in marketing, advertising, and consulting. And
Mhm.
what I loved about that was the psychology piece, kind of
Mm.
listening for what clients say, what they don't say, and then how do you make sense of that? And then
Mhm.
another thing about me that I haven't shared much before, but I really have a love for languages. So
Mm.
I have I've studied several languages. The two that I've studied the most are Mandarin Chinese and Spanish. So I
Mhm.
Wow.
lived in Taiwan for a year and a half,
Wow.
and I knew I had made progress when I had a dream in Chinese, and it was in an argument with someone, and I won in the fight. It's like, wow.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
and and I bring that up because when it comes to languages, you have to tune in not just to the words that are being said, but the
Mhm.
inflection, the intonation, the pacing.
Yeah.
There's so much that is contextual to it. And
Yeah.
for us as clinicians, that's such a significant part of our work
Yes.
is
Yes.
that attunement piece. And we'll talk
Mhm.
more about that as we get into our topic tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what we're talking about tonight, for anyone who just may be coming on, we're talking about moving from conflict to connection. Because, as I stated earlier, so frequently in relationships and marriages, particularly when conflict arises, connection diminishes. But
Mhm.
there are ways in which, and steps you can take, and tools you can utilize to minimize or maybe totally eradicate the disconnection that occurs with conflict. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And there is a particular um, therapy that both Kim and Paula utilize in their practice, building lasting connections. And we're going to be focusing on that a great deal this evening. So, in building lasting connections, it emphasizes strengthening the foundation of a relationship.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
can either or both of you explain the core principles of that modality, building lasting connections? That what is that model, and why
Mhm.
building a couple's emotional bond is so essential to navigating conflict?
Yeah, extremely. And I'll say first, lasting connection actually is derived from emotionally focused therapy.
Mm-hmm,
So the founders are both certified trainers in EFT as well,
Mhm.
and then they developed this model. But
mm-hmm,
it's really structured around a relationship pyramid, and there's 5 sections of the relationship pyramid in building a lasting connection.
Mhm.
One is around attachment. That is a key foundational element of it.
mm-hmm,
Another is around communication, navigating differences,
Mhm.
physical intimacy, and goals. And when it comes to the goals, it's about the goals for yourself, for your partner, and then for the relationship. So
Yeah.
you,
mm-hmm,
me, us, in looking at all of that and
mm-hmm,
navigating all of those different needs. One of the goals as well is just helping both partners achieve a greater understanding of the love relationship, right? And the
Mm,
essential steps to achieve that emotional safety and connection.
mhm,
Um, and then there's the awareness of, what triggers the negative interaction cycle that leads to disconnection. So that is a key part. Learning effective communication skills and the art of listening is really key because listening is an art. Um,
mhm.
and being able to navigate the differences. So that just gives a little bit of a background of the foundation for building a lasting connection.
Okay. Miss
Mhm.
Paula, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I really think that Kim pretty much covered a lot of the core principles of BLC. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
I like Kim, you said listening is an art. And I
Mhm.
love that because the best communicators are great listeners. And I
Mm,
think so often in a relationship, we do a whole lot more talking than
mm,
we do listening when um, it really should be the other way around. Listening
Mhm.
to our partner, and because I think a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunications could be eliminated or avoided if we listen more and speak less. So I love that listening is an art, and I think it's an art that we all we all have to learn.
Yes.
And it takes time.
Yes.
Listening, being a good listener, I don't think comes naturally to all of us. Maybe to some people, but I
Hmm.
don't think it comes naturally to all of us. What are your thoughts on that, Paula?
I would say, you know what? It's an art, but it's also a skill. It's something that we
Mm,
also learn and something that we continue to improve upon, you know? Um,
mhm,
I think that we believe that listening is something that's inherent to most of us. But I think that, through just our relationships and just through just the sheer use, of it, we become better. I think that there are two things that are really important to listening. And it's that we're not just because a lot of times, a lot of us listen and we hear things, but we fail to understand,
yes,
right? Because while people are speaking, we're not actively listening, right? We're not deducing what is behind the words, right? We're just kind of
mhm.
staying and remaining on this surface level. And so, yeah, I think that is something that can be developed.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
I
And
want to just add that I
yeah,
often
yeah, go
go back
ahead, go ahead. Mhm.
to my Sunday school days, as a Sunday school teacher and
Mm.
talking to the little ones, the 5-year-olds, and God gave us 2 ears and 1
Oh,
mouth,
wow.
so we can listen twice as much as we speak, 'cause that's where the learning happens, in the listening.
Yes,
Yes,
that's good.
absolutely.
That's
And
good.
just to piggyback on something you said, Paula, very often we don't necessarily hear what our partner has said.
Mhm.
We hear something entirely different based
Yeah.
on past history, past relationships, our own personal triggers. And
Mhm.
so you mentioned that, Kim, when you were talking about the foundations of building lasting connection. So, can you talk to me a bit about understanding triggers, conflict triggers?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's good.
You want me to start, Paul, or do you want to start?
I can start. That's okay. So a lot of times, a lot of times when we're arguing or we're in conflict, right, about certain things, I say you're in conflict over the dishes, right, or who's going to pick up the children.
Mm,
It's never about the dishes. It's never about the children, right? That's the
right.
surface. That's what you're in conflict about on the surface. But there are things underneath. There are either needs, unmet needs, right? Or very vulnerable feelings, right? So that's what
Mm,
we're seeing on the surface, and that's what we're hearing on the surface. We may be seeing on the surface, one partner being critical, right? Criticizing the other. Another partner then in return perhaps being defensive or shutting down, right? And those are all really misguided attempts to say, hear me, feel me,
Yes.
see me, right? And that's just on the surface. And then you might see someone perhaps acting out in anger or being angry, having feelings of anger, but we all know that anger is actually a secondary emotion. And
Mm-hmm.
so the real trigger, the vulnerable emotions and the needs that we perhaps do not feel comfortable saying or sharing with our partner are the real things that are underneath. And so the triggers in that moment may be that perhaps one partner is rubbing up against the wound or rubbing up
Mm.
triggering this unmet need that maybe you may not even be aware of. So
Mm-hmm.
the feeling, if you peel it back, like in regards to anger, might be I'm sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel abandoned. I feel
Mm.
rejected. I am grieving. And the need may be care for me, listen to me, love
Mm-hmm.
me, feed me, right? But that's not what we're saying because those are very vulnerable things. But those are probably the needs that are being triggered in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Based off of
Yeah.
whatever is happening on the surface when you rub up against that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That whole piece about unmet needs. And as you said, sometimes we're not even sure ourselves what that need is. And even if we do sometimes, we're not always comfortable with sharing what that need is. It's a lot easier to just have an attitude or be angry. And sometimes there's that expectation for our partners to figure it out or they should know. But one of the things I say all the time is our partners know what we tell them because they
Mm-hmm.
can't read our minds.
Mhm.
So they know what we tell them. So it's
Mhm.
helpful when we can kind of figure out for ourselves what those needs are.
Yeah.
And it's even better when we are in a relationship where there's a level of comfort and safety where we can communicate what those needs are rather than just, acting out of loneliness or feelings of rejection or abandonment or disrespect in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'd love to piggyback on something you
Hmm.
said about is there's a quote that Paul and I both love, and it is that it's attributed to John Gottman, probably both the Gottmans, and it is that marriages die in the absence of conversation, right? The
Yes.
conversations that need to be had,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and that is so true.
Mhm.
I never thought to tell them that, and neither partner can be a mind reader.
Right.
Um, and as Paula was saying, it's unmet attachment needs. It's also our attachment style that can actually
That's good.
be a trigger, the basis for the trigger, right?
Yeah.
We're familiar with the four attachment styles. There's secure attachment, and then there's three relatively, established insecure attachment.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So there's anxious preoccupied, there's avoidant dismissive, and there's disorganized.
Hmm.
So I'm going to just use two of them and look at what can happen when it comes to
Hmm.
triggers.
Yeah.
So let's say you have one partner in the relationship who
Mm.
has an anxious, preoccupied attachment. That particular strategy was developed in childhood, most often as a result of having inconsistent availability on the part of their caregiver.
Yeah.
And so what are they longing for is that connection to like
Yes.
see me, value me, you know, make time for me.
Hmm.
Uh, and they also tend to have a view of self that is negative and a view of others that is positive.
Mm.
Now, you look at the individual who has an avoidant dismissive attachment, they often had one or more caregivers who were rejecting in their of that individual's like worth and value.
Hmm.
Interesting. The response to that one is um, to have a more positive view of self and a negative view of others,
Mm.
and they develop a set. They internalize and then project that rejection. And
Yeah.
guess which styles most often marry?
Yes.
And can you see how the sore spots can rub up against each other?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the
Yeah.
dismissive can feel like, why is my partner coming at me? And
Hmm.
whereas the anxious, preoccupied says, I guess I'm not important enough to
Mm.
them to make time for me and my needs.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Wow. But yeah, that absolutely makes sense, and it is kind of a recipe for dysfunction.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for dysfunction
Love
if
that.
they don't get help so
Right.
that they can learn how to communicate in a manner that is healthier, and get
Mhm.
an understanding of not just their own but their partner's attachment style and the implications for their relationship.
Yeah.
Because when the couples come to Paula, when couples come to you, you're going to guide them in that process, learning about attachment. What is attachment? What is the wife's attachment style? What's the husband's attachment style? And what the difference it makes in that particular relationship, how it's showing up in that particular relationship, because it doesn't show up the same way in every relationship.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does not. Yeah. Depending on the degree of work each
Hmm.
one is done individually as a couple, their experience of community and connection and support.
Yeah.
There's so many variables that influence that.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Nini. Hey, Nini and Tatiana. Nini's my daughter in law. Tatiana, it's good to see you, sweetie. Thank you for tuning in again. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
So, if either of you or anyone else who is watching now, if you have questions about communication, about conflict, connection, put it there in the chat, or you can, if you feel ready to do so, you can share something about your own experience with conflict and connection slash disconnection. So, what about communication strategies that couples can use to move from blaming and defensiveness to understanding and connection? What are some of those tools?
Yeah. That's a really good question. The main thing, it's really interesting because a lot of times when you're in conflict, especially in a couple, right? We tend to want to, to criticize the other person or say, "You always do this."
Mm,
Or you do that. And then and a lot of times when we do that, that causes the other person to respond in defensiveness, right? So here we go with the criticism and the defensiveness again, right? Those misguided attempts, right, to connect for you to see
mm-hmm.
me.
Absolutely.
And in order to really communicate, we have to really put down those defenses, right? And lift back the layer and become vulnerable. We have to kind of like do the work to say, well, what is the need? What am I actually feeling like in this
Mm-hmm.
situation when that occurs? And so, in communicating that as well, that requires a great deal of not just introspection, but then towards the other person, really a great deal of respect, a great deal of empathy in the way you communicate.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, I think about this. A lot of times couples don't really connect or communicate because they don't feel safe doing so. There's a lack of safety, whether it's from the previous attacks on one another, wounds, conflict, whatever that looks like. And so there is kind of like this fear, right, of approaching each
Mhm.
other. And so conflict then becomes a negative thing. Whereas
Mm,
conflict, right, speaking to one another should be looked at or viewed as an opportunity to engage, an opportunity
yes.
to get to
Mhm.
know each other better, an opportunity to like establish intimacy. I had a pastor that used to say intimacy. He loves that word because it means into me see. But as you guys stated earlier, we can't read minds. So I can't read my
Mm-hmm.
partner's minds just as much as I can't read your mind. So in order for you to see into me and for us to kind of like develop that connection, we have to communicate, and we have to communicate clearly and in a safe manner.
Yes. And in a safe manner. Yes. That I think needs to be emphasized because sometimes the way we communicate with our partner, they don't experience us as being safe.
Mhm.
So very,
And when there's that lack of safety that is either real or perceived,
Mhm.
there's going to be a lack of communication
yeah.
between the two partners involved.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put something up on the screen because I don't know if you guys could see it on the side. Someone is asking, he describes, said, my spouse is a prodigal and is communicating by opposite terms, like asking me if I have done the opposite of what she knows I have done. And to clarify, he said she asked me if I didn't do something after knowing I have done it. So it sounds as if, well, I won't give my response. What does that sound like for you guys, and how might you respond to this individual? And thank you for watching, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it almost sounds as if, um, well, it sounds like there's a lack of trust, right? And so they're seeking almost a reassurance, but but going about it like confirming the negative, right? So
Hmm.
I wonder what might be driving their approach, because it
Yeah.
is not an approach that is inviting someone into connection. I think with that kind of dynamic, someone can start to wonder if there's entrapment going on.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so that makes the person being asked this question in a double negative way feel unsafe.
Mhm.
And so how do you kind of pause and say, I'm really trying to understand what you're really asking me, because I'm
Mhm.
a little bit unclear as to what you're truly asking me,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and try to
That's
move
good. Yeah.
quietly.
I hope that helps, Glyco, because I agree with Kim. It's almost a setup because sometimes there's a way in which someone can ask a question where any response you give is not going to sound like the right one.
Mhm.
There's going to be some fault found with however you answer the question. So there may be a little bit of a setup there. And if there is, and that, at least from my perspective, speaks
Mm,
to something underlying in the relationship, and maybe what is beneath all of that needs to be addressed
mhm.
Mhm.
to get to what's really going on in the relationship. Paula, do you have anything that you might say to Glyco?
No, I think you both covered it quite well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think the other thing to consider is what is it what's the goal? Is it
Mm,
for
Mhm.
us both to win? And so we're going to join together so that we can experience this in a way where we both feel supported and heard and cared for?
yeah.
Or does one have the mindset of, well, I'm going to win, they're going to lose, or I feel like I always lose, they always win, or it's lose
Yeah.
lose, and it ends up being lose lose if you go
Oh,
in for any of the other
Yeah.
approaches. So I think
yeah.
that's really key. What is your intent in that
Yeah.
process?
You actually kind of brought up a thought, so I think I do want to add up
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
Add something. I think that's really good because oftentimes when conflict arises, we forget that we're on the same team, and we start trying to tear each other down. Whether
Mm,
that's out of protection or, but we're on the same team. You're on the same team, so it's remembering that. It reminds me of this quote that says that our brains, right, are wired for connection, but
Mm,
then trauma rewires our brain for protection, right? And so we have all
mhm.
these defenses and defensive mechanisms. And sometimes we don't recognize them in each other or other people because we tend to think that a defense mechanism is reactive, but it's not always a reactive thing. Some of them are actually proactive. And that might be her defenses, showing up in that way, like trying to set this entrapment that Kim spoke of. And so,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, no,
yeah.
very much so.
That's good. And hi, Miss D. Thank you for watching. I believe that anytime one partner or the other looks at their situation as a win-lose, everybody loses,
Mhm.
because the goal is to have a win-win situation and not look at it from the perspective of one person wins and the other one loses, especially when there is that conflict, because you want to come out on the other side not just loving each other, but still liking each other. And if you're thinking of, well, I'm going to win and they're going to lose,
Mhm.
then that does not bode well for maintaining that deep emotional connection on the other side of that conflict. Oh, Glyco has another question. Glyco is asking, is there an approach that we can talk about in regards to talking to a spouse that has checked out of the marriage? What do you
Mm,
guys, how do you
yeah,
guys respond to that?
yeah, and Paula might want to add to this, but um, I would definitely recommend counseling and a specific approach called discernment counseling. And
Mm,
that's where you have one partner who is leaning out of the relationship and
Mhm.
kind of feels like they're checked out, as Glyco said, and one who's more leaning in. And so the 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 process of discernment counseling looks at, do we have enough about of a foundation to build on? Like if we invest and like give our all in this next 6 months period,
mm-hmm.
is there a confidence that we will experience change, healthy change in our relationship? And so that discernment is helpful with determining, can we go on, or is this the next 5, 10, 15 years going to be more of the same?
Yeah.
And I think too, when, you know, statements that are validating versus ones that are invalidating,
Mhm.
sometimes when you ask a question, the way that you pose that question is already invalidating.
Mhm.
Whereas validating statements can actually support the health and growth for both partners. You know,
Yes.
yeah. So, for
Yes.
example, thank you for sharing that with me. Or, I hear you. I want to understand more. I'm here for you. Right.
Mhm.
Versus um, asking that kind of double bind question that would be
Mhm.
invalidating to
Mm-hmm.
the other partner.
Mhm.
So really, like, considering what are your motives beneath the action.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
good. It's interesting. You mentioned 6 months when I start counseling with a couple, and especially when, as you said, there's a lot of conflict going on, and one or both are feeling like, okay, this is it. If this don't work, we're going our separate ways. I typically will ask for a minimum of 6 months.
Mm.
Because listen, you could get divorced anytime. You could separate anytime.
True.
But let's let's at least
Yeah.
work at this. And I mean really work at it. Not
Right.
Mhm.
talk about it,
That's
but
right.
really work at it for a good solid 6 months.
Mhm.
Because by the end of the 6 months, if both partners, you pretty much, at least from my perspective, you will know, because you're either going to be engaged and doing the work, or you're going to be kind of lackadaisical and not really doing the work, and you're going to come in, well, I haven't done my homework because I didn't have the time, and well, one person would have done it and the other one wouldn't have done it, if it's an
Right.
assignment for them to do separately.
Mhm.
And that to me is very revealing. It
Mm.
reveals something about not just the relationship, but each person's level of commitment to their marriage and to the process. Because with anything, we humans, we're creatures of habit. Anything that we really want, we're going to go for. Anything that we're really committed to, we're going to not just show up for, but we're going to do the work.
Mhm.
So it's revealing when there is consistently
Mhm.
assignments not done. At least that's how I feel about it. You guys can tell me what your thoughts are regarding that.
I think you both made some very wonderful points. I just want to tag in a little bit from the spiritual side, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like I believe that counseling and therapy is amazing. But I think that also when someone has emotionally tapped out, or I think that adding in prayer, right?
Mm,
You know, praying for that individual and also praying for your
yes,
marriage and
yes.
covering it in prayer as you go through that process. Speaking about that word synergism, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think is a wonderful tool because I know that we can't change our partners, right?
Right.
Like you said, you can bring someone to the water. You can't make them drink. You can take them to therapy. You can't make them do the work or believe
That's
it.
right.
So it's like, I think coupling prayer, right, along with the clinical work, because we know how both are very helpful and
Mm-hmm.
beneficial. I think is good because only one person I know that can change the heart of kings and can change the human heart. It's not me.
Amen. That's right.
Yeah.
True.
That is so, so good. And I think it's vital, um, you know, for couples who are believers or whatever their faith tradition is,
Yeah.
to include that aspect along with counseling. Because as you said, we can't change our partners. I say all the time, who is in your circle of influence? You, yourself, and you. Ain't nobody else in there with you. You can only influence yourself. You cannot influence your partner. I mean, let me rephrase that. We do have some level of influence on our
Yeah.
partners. We can't change our partners,
Yeah.
but we can influence our partners. And that's something that the Gottmans talk about also, especially in terms of a husband accepting the influence of his wife. Because according to the Gottmans in their studies, we as wives are more prone to accept the influence of our husbands than they are of us. So,
Yeah.
yes, we can influence our spouses, but we cannot change our spouses. And
Mm.
hopefully and prayerfully, they will be open and receptive to the influence. So, um, Kim and Paula had something that they wanted to show. We weren't quite able to bring it up. I mean, I could bring it up, but it won't be very large on the screen. But can you just, excuse me, talk a little bit about it, Kim? I'm
Sure.
going to see if
Yeah.
I can. I'm going to see if I can bring it up, and we'll see what it looks like.
Okay. Sounds good. So it's actually it's a mat. It's actually I don't know, it's probably 6 feet long. And when I bring it out, couples say, "Are we playing Twister?" Because there's basically the couple. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can put it in slideshow mode so that way it's a little bit larger. That would
Okay,
help.
I have to go back to the
Oh,
other.
yeah, you can just click on
Oh, how
slideshow.
do I do that? How
Do
do
you
I do
see
that?
right next to where it says share?
Oh, I see. Hit that.
Yes. And
Oh, okay, great. So it's
yeah,
bigger now.
it is
Mhm.
Got it.
definitely bigger. So that I think I know it's a little hard to read because of the way it's laid out. But when you just envision one partner on the side, the person who is sharing like what they're experiencing, and the one who's listening. But even before that, co-regulation is key. So that's why you have the center with the steps. So the each partner stands on either side, which is the slow. And you're just kind of inviting them to slow down, set aside the demands of the day, and just bring themselves in the present to be just present with themselves and with their partner.
Hmm.
Then you have them take a second step towards the breathe. And
Mhm.
they're just to really slow down and be conscious of their breathing. And they start to breathe and sink because I think sometimes when things get all worked up, you're breathing in shallow ways and your brain's not getting the oxygen it needs. So just slowing down and breathing can prepare you to hear what your partner has said and
Hmm.
also to be able to share from a safe space. And then the last one is to just take one step further and touch. And that could just be holding each other's hand and looking each other in the eye while they're still like breathing at a slower pace. And it just
Mhm.
helps them to turn towards one another and prepare them. It's like cultivating the soil to hear each other's heart. So
Mhm.
then you have one partner kind of share their experience of the conflict. Um, so they would start um, basically with right in the center that like what the challenge is that they're experiencing with their partner. So that's the hurt that blocks the connection between them.
Yeah, that
Uh,
white circle in the middle. For
that
you
white
guys
circle
who are
in the
seeing it
middle.
on your screen, the white circle there in the middle on the left side. Hmm.
Yes. So think, for example, a couple, they're planning, they were going to go on a vacation together. But then at the last minute, the husband says, well, we can't go again. Right. So, and without a whole lot of notice, and it was something that the wife was really looking forward to. So, um, so you go first to the behaviors. What is it that she's doing? She might walk away, go upstairs to the bedroom and slam the door loudly.
Hmm.
Um, and what is the next circle following that? There you go. Is
Hmm.
my body's danger response, and a lot of that has to do with our attachment style. Is it fight, flight,
Mhm.
or freeze?
Hmm.
And so, understanding that I felt they would voice to their spouse, I felt unsafe. Oh, and one step I need to go back to every time the person who's sharing on the side, the circle side,
Hmm.
the partner is going to be on the other side, and they're going to choose one of the circles in response to what they hear the partner say. So one would be reflecting,
Reflect. Hmm.
or I hear you saying
Mhm.
XYZ. So just confirming that what they heard their wife or husband say is the same, one and the same, and they want to get that confirmation.
Hmm.
Or you might want to reassure and say, that's the second circle, that you're my person. I want to learn more about you and about this. Like I want
Hmm.
to understand. And then the last one would be a request. You know, can you help me understand more? Like
Hmm.
what this was like for you. So so just that process of slowing the communication down
Hmm.
is half the battle. You hear people say it went from 0 to 60 or 0 to 100. We want to slow the process down.
That slows it down. So I have a question. So when okay, they start the communicator, the speaker starts here, and then they go to this circle. And does the partner that's standing on this side have the option of choosing a circle after the completion of the speaker at each step?
At each step along the way, that
Got it.
is
Mm-hmm.
that
Mhm.
exactly. So at each step
Mm-hmm.
along the way, the other partner is
Mm-hmm.
going to respond from one of those three response circles,
Okay.
which is, and so, yeah, great question. Um, so the next circle, right, goes to um, what is the fear, right, that the
Mm-hmm.
person has. The hidden catastrophic fear is that um, you don't want to be with me. You don't want quality time with me. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't understand the reason you would like cancel this trip. The emotion that they show might be shut down, or I'm hurt. I like why try? It doesn't. I don't matter to you, and that's so the I don't matter to you is the meaning they're making about themselves. I'm not worth it to you.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care enough about me to um, to be present with me in this. And
Mm-hmm.
so it helps the partner because if the typical way of explaining or sharing about conflict is you never want to spend time with me, right? Kind of what Paul was sharing earlier, or you always prioritize your work over me. This allows the one partner to share what the need is, right? They can share that I was really looking forward to the
Mhm.
quality time and the closeness that we were going to have. And I was so sad and disappointed that when it wasn't going to happen. There isn't really defensive-ness that's triggered from that, right? Because there's a vulnerability that is shown that invites connection. Right? When
Yes.
someone is vulnerable, you want to move towards them, whereas when
Mhm.
someone's being critical of you and focusing on negative, you want to move away from that. So
Yeah.
this process helps the both gain a deeper understanding. And that's just the very nature, right, of reframing conflict as an opportunity. And
Yes.
this whole exercise provides a way for couples to move towards the opportunity of growing and understanding of
Mhm.
their own
Mhm.
needs and of their partner's needs.
Yeah. And I particularly like this step where you begin to speak to the underlying fear, because more often than not, there is a fear that's attached when one partner, as you said in this case, might just walk out of the room and slam the door. But if partner A, who walks out of the room and slams the door, and then partner B just does not pursue that,
Right.
therein lies the opportunity for a wide misunderstanding rather than
Mhm.
continuing the conversation where partner B has I consider it a gift now, has received the gift from partner A and learning the fear that they have. It's not that they were angry or upset or pissed off because they weren't going to go on the vacation. They are afraid of abandonment,
Yes.
of being abandoned by their partner.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I really like that part of it,
Mhm.
getting to the fear.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, that was no, I think that it helps to process like as they're going deeper and understand.
Hmm.
And it, as Paul was saying, the into me see, right?
Mhm.
It's an
Right,
opportunity to see below the surface
Yeah.
because often where couples stay are is at the behaviors or the
right.
reactivity versus what the actual need was and the vulnerable emotions attached to those needs.
Hmm.
And I really, being a nervous system person and a brain person, I absolutely love the co-regulation at the beginning, because a lot of times we can't meet each other because we're so heightened, right? And that's
Right.
not something that a lot of times can really like just kind of snap out of or control, right? And it makes it really hard being a DBT person. It affects your distress tolerance, right? You can only
Right.
take or handle so much because you're already here. So I'm not hearing you. I'm not seeing you. I don't want to feel you. I don't want to smell you because I'm here and I don't know how to get here. And so it helps you to kind of like, it brings in your parasympathetic system and gets you to calm down so that you can
Right.
actually hear each other. Because when you're heightened, you're not hearing anything because you're not here. You're not grounded. You're not, you're stuck in that fight or flight or, freeze, and you don't feel safe. And lack of safety hinders the vulnerability. So I
Yeah.
think that the co-regulation piece in this, the fact that they integrated it in this is like huge, because
Hmm.
I get myself here, then I can actually really see and hear you. And I'm not
Hmm.
feeling it through everything that's happening for me here that I can't seemingly control.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Go ahead, Kim. You wanted to go to the next circle?
Um, well, actually, I think we looked at all of them, right? I think when you get, I did want to call attention to one thing with the meaning
Hmm.
that I make, that the cognitive part. That's why this model is both experiential, but it also is cognitive.
Yeah.
because when all of these things are happening and at play and in the cycle, there's a story we're telling ourselves about who we are and a story we're telling ourselves about who our partner is. And
Yeah,
it may be very far from what the actual
Truth is.
true need is and the true um, situation is, because the one partner might think, oh, well, she's only upset because she didn't get to go on this expensive vacation. And they start to go down that road when the
right.
last thing they really are seeking that closeness and connection. And
Absolutely.
It's good.
mhm,
Okay. Well, excuse me, I'm sorry. Miss D had put it here in the comments: when there's conflict, I don't feel safe. Um, and this is just from my perspective, and you ladies can share yours. I don't think that it is the conflict in and of itself that renders an atmosphere or an environment of unsafety. There is
Right.
something else going on in the relationship, because conflict, when handled uh, in an appropriate manner, is a good thing, because I always say conflict prevents an opportunity for a broader conversation. So it
mhm,
isn't necessarily the conflict that is
Right.
making you feel not safe, Miss D. Consider the possibility that there's something else going on in the relationship that rendered you feeling unsafe even prior to the conflict occurring. What
Mhm.
say you, ladies?
well, I'll just briefly, it's interesting. I always think of um, in Chinese, the term for the word conflict is Wei Ji, and there's two characters. The one represents danger, and the other represents opportunity. So
Mm,
that there's just a kind of this fork in the road, and depending on how we handle it, will determine whether we experience more of the danger or whether we experience more of the opportunity, and
hmm.
how safe we feel in that. And I
Yes.
can see you nodding your head. You're familiar with that.
That's
So,
really good.
yeah.
And I just to piggyback off what you're saying, there's a saying I like that goes that our nervous system whispers what our mind tries to forget. So in that
Mm,
moment, it's your kind of like your body, warning you or feeling unsafe because, like you said, of either sometimes it's like a past experience maybe that you've associated with like conflict. Maybe in the past when you've had
mhm.
conflict, it wasn't safe. Something happened that didn't feel safe. And we all know that, trauma can't tell time. A lot of times our body keeps a score. So, like, inherently, you feel like it's unsafe. But, like you ladies said, conflict in and of itself is not bad. It's really the story that we tell ourselves and the story that our nervous system tells us based off of past experiences. But I want to end it
Yeah.
by saying that there's hope because we can change that. There's a place for reframing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. That's
And
good. I
yeah.
really like that. I hope that helps, Miss D.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
actually
Go ahead.
wanted to return to something with Misty expressing when there's conflict, I don't feel safe. Sometimes it's important to take a step back
Mm,
when you're faced with conflict and just ask yourself, what are my parts needing in this moment? Right?
Mm,
Because there can be a lot of things going on. When
yeah.
if we've been going all day and it's been a hot day and we're dehydrated, that's not a good time to have a conversation. All of the different like parts of you that might have a need in that moment, or you are feeling exhausted, right?
mm.
That's a true need.
Yeah.
So some of these things can influence how safe we feel because we don't feel like we have we're not resourced to engage.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why timing is one of those T's when it comes to communication. Because timing is key.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. So once a couple they've gone through this process with building lasting connections and they've learned the tools, how can they continue and to maintain and strengthen their connection long term, even as their life circumstances are changing?
Okay. Okay. I'll just share a few things. And I think that's so important, even if it's their life, because in different seasons, couples have different needs,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And if you're, the newlywed and you're just forming, norming, all of that stage, becoming parents and supporting each other, I think it's important to intentionally maintain a balance of vulnerability
Mm.
as well as accountability and consistency with setting healthy boundaries in the relationship. You need both. You need both. Um, Having an open like heart and mind to seasons when you might need some outside support. Whether it's
Mhm.
individual therapy, couples therapy, and especially as it relates to attachment work or
Yeah.
traumas, resolution of experienced traumas. I'll pause. Was there anything else you wanted to add on that? I have a few more, but
No, I was just gonna say, just also, in terms of individual therapy, that in a lot of cases people wonder, what if my partner doesn't want to go to therapy? That
Yeah.
doing the work on yourself is equally as important, because like you said, what's within your realm of control, and oftentimes that could be a starting point. So don't neglect the individual therapy for marital issues, because it's also helpful.
yeah.
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
Almost every couple that I counsel, I recommend individual therapy for both of them.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times it's the individual stuff that's impacting the relationship that you can't necessarily address in a couple session.
Hmm.
So each one can benefit from some individual counseling. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
I like that, Paula. I agree 100%.
Yeah. And then the other part when you said like once you get through the program, what is going to help maintain it? Um, Mentoring can be a really important part of
Mm,
maintaining
Mm.
and safeguarding what you've gained through doing that work. And when I say mentoring, at multiple levels, right? You know how we talk about every person should have a Paul and a Barnabas and a Timothy in their life.
mhm,
So who's a couple that can pour into you as a couple, right?
That's
So
mm.
yeah.
yeah, another couple that there's a, a sense of peer mentoring, right, where you kind of are doing life together and you're iron sharpening iron. And
Yeah.
then last but not least, very important is who are you choosing, who are you intentionally pouring into,
Mhm.
because as we teach it to someone else, it
Yeah.
re oh, what's the word I'm looking for,
Reinforces maybe.
it reinforces it for us. It anchors it,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Every
Yeah.
single time it reinforces and anchors
Mhm.
what what you've been learning. So I
Yeah.
think that is really key, to be
Mhm.
an ongoing thing. It's not a one and done.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
Um, so Glyco had a comment. He said he's in restoration in his soul before the Lord with his wife, and I'm leading her in it with me. And wow, it is such a whole new world. I just
Mm.
want to encourage you, Glyco, in your marriage. And I will be praying for you and your wife, and I'm sure that Kim and Paula will as well. And I'm not sure where you are located, but if you're in Pennsylvania, you can go to Jeter and Associates. Hold on, I'm going to put up the link. Uh, so if you're in Pennsylvania, I
Oh,
would encourage for you and your wife, or you as an individual, to seek some counseling, because even one person getting healthier can shift the dynamic in a relationship
Yeah.
and has the potential to make things better, even if both partners don't go.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to encourage you. And if you are in New Jersey, then there's Mending Hearts. That's in New Jersey. So we've got you covered in PA. We've got you covered in Jersey. So I just want to encourage you, Glyco. And as I said, we will be in prayer. Glyco said he's in Oklahoma. Wow. Well, I'm sorry, bruh.
But I'm sure there's resources like
Psychology today.
hopefully you've heard some things that helps you be attuned to what to look for to support you as an individual or you and your wife as a couple in doing this work.
Yes, yes. So maybe perhaps at some point you can go back on YouTube and watch the video again to get some additional information that may be of help to you. And if I don't know how you guys feel about it, but are you guys okay with sharing your business email in case Glyco may want to reach out? Are you guys okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I don't know if you could put it in the chat, but are you guys able to put comments? Can you write comments?
No, not in the main chat. I don't see that. Oh, wait, maybe this one.
Actually, I think I see.
I'll see if it works.
Okay, because if it doesn't, I will share the emails.
Is that it? I see you.
Yeah, I see Paula's but do you see it? Do you see it, Valerie?
Oh, it's in the private chat, but I'm going to copy and paste it. Yeah, I'm going to copy and paste it to the main comments so that Glyco or others that may be watching, if you want to reach out via email. Hold on, I'm just copying and pasting, and give your girl a minute, because
we also offer coaching for various things. So even if you're in Oklahoma, we offer coaching services, and that'll be launching soon. So keep an eye out.
Great. Yes, because that's the beauty of coaching. It's not state specific as counseling is. So there are the email addresses, Glyco, and just reach out. Oh, I didn't put mine in there. Hold on. And I'm a 2-finger typist, so just bear with me. Marriage Beyond Breach.com. Okay. Valerie at marriagebeyondthebreach.com. So that's my email address, and you have Paula's email address, and you have Kim's email address. And yes, at Mending Hearts is counseling. At Marriage Beyond the Breach, I offer coaching as well. And as Paula said, soon Jeter and Associates will offer that. So we do have you covered after all, Glyco. Okay, and anyone else who may be listening. So, ladies, any final words, advice, encouragement, whatever that you may want to share with those who are listening?
One last final thought is, as you seek to maintain what you've built, is to have a posture of inviting your spouse into relationship with you. So the next time you have an opportunity for conflict or to address and engage it, take a step back and say to your partner, can I talk with you about something that has been on my heart?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very different way. It's a soft startup versus a harsh startup.
Yeah.
And so that invitation is really important, and wanting to invite your partner in.
Yeah. I guess I can add just to, as you are maneuvering through these very difficult streets, it's just to remember to extend grace to yourself And in the same way that you extend that grace to yourself, extend that same grace to your partner, knowing that, if you're going, because we tend to judge ourselves and our intentions and others on their behaviors.
Mm.
So remembering that, that they also are human and also struggling through this process.
Yeah, that's good. Extend grace to ourselves and to our partner.
Mhm.
Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much for being here on this evening. This was amazing. And I love that building lasting connections. I love that, Matt, and what
Yeah.
it can accomplish to help couples stay connected in the midst of a conflict. I really like that middle part where you're starting out, as you said, Paula, and you're slowing down and you're approaching each other and you're touching. Oh, I love that because I think couples don't touch enough.
It's hard to fight when you're right here.
It's true.
Yes, yes, I love that. So thank you so much for being here. Those of you who are watching live or later, again, I thank you and I appreciate you for showing up. For any who, if you have not already done so, I would appreciate, what do you say it on YouTube? Subscribe and like and share on YouTube, Marriage Beyond the Breach on YouTube. We are also on Facebook and Instagram. And I would appreciate a subscription or a follow or a like or whatever it is that you do on these social media streets. I would appreciate it. So I'll see you guys in about 3 weeks because next week I won't be here. I am actually officiating at a couple that I provided premarital counseling for. So I'm officiating at their wedding next Sunday, so I won't be here. And the Sunday after that, it's my birthday, so I won't be here that Sunday. But I will see you in about 3 weeks. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell, you will receive notifications when we're going to have another broadcast. So I will see you in 3 weeks. I appreciate you guys so, so much. Have a blessed rest of your evening and a blessed week. I will see you next time.